using too often. You might want to use a simile, or you might want to use, there's a word that describes the opposites of the word. So you've got one word and you can find the opposite of that word. Forget that word now. Right. So unless you've written down your speech, you won't really know. If you're going to stand up there and on the cuff, just on the spur of the moment speak, then you're going to make all the mistakes that you're talking about. So the best thing I can tell anyone who wants to seriously speak in public, write your speech down. Go through it. Again, when you said that regarding whether you're going to lose your audience, so you know during your speech, this part is a bit boring. But you won't know when to add all the things to liven it up unless it's written down. So that is the best solution I can give. Okay. Sometimes when it comes to question and answer time, there is the MC. And he will take the questions. Quite often that's what happens in debates, public debate. He will take the questions. And if it is relevant to the speech, then he will allow it. If it's irrelevant, he won't. Or if it will take a lot of explaining to answer that question, then he will say, maybe this can be discussed outside. Right? If there's no MC and you're handling the questions yourself, then you need to just be diplomatic. See what is appropriate. If there's anything that's going off the topic, don't discuss it. Because then you could go too far away from your topic. Right? So see what questions are asked. Are they appropriate? Have you got sufficient time to answer them crisply and move on? So these are some of the things that you will take into account. With experience, it will become easier.
You say if you ask for comments from your audience, that you, assuming you've given this brother Muhammad the mic, and now Muhammad starts giving a lecture for another 15 minutes, and now you're wondering how you're gonna stop it, which happens because when people start talking, they start in one section and they just carry on talking. Now you need to have a technique. So one technique is actually to politely interrupt the person to say, oh, that point that you made over there is an excellent point over there, and now you take the mic away from him, just talk about his last point, and you cut him off already. It's a little trick that you can do, because some people have this habit. They just want to just talk, and they go into this thing. So you need to be able to be alert and to be able to sort of say, look, cut him off.
I think another interesting, important point to make in public speaking is your speech must not come across as a speech. It mustn't come across as a speech. It must come across as a conversation. Just as among friends when you are talking, how comfortable you are when you are talking in a conversation, that is how your speech must be as well. Because once it becomes a speech, then it becomes too formal. That's why you'll notice, I'll walk, I'll speak to you all there, I'll speak to that group, I'll come back here. If you're standing here behind the podium or a lectern and giving a 40 minutes talk, then it appears to be more of a speech. Sometimes you can manage it, but otherwise, try and make it as if it's a conversation. Sometimes people ask the question also, what if I forget to say something that I'm supposed to say? You've got all the points, but while you're speaking, you realize that point number 3 I've forgotten and I've already gone on to point number 6. What should you do?
Yeah, you just find the connection to it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's good important, but not that part just gonna take you on.
Okay, sometimes people get very excited at the fact that they missed out something. And it actually affects the balance of their speech. Forget about it. Unless it is the core of what you're supposed to say, just forget about it. Because the audience doesn't know what you're going to say. So if you don't say it, they won't be any wiser. So you just carry on. If it's a core element, if it's something that is essential for your whole speech, then you shouldn't be forgetting it also. But in any case, if you forget it, then you must come back and, as a brother said, try and link it up to what you are saying. Any other points? We'll continue with this segment for another 10 minutes. We've got no time to go on to the other topic. So let's just do justice to public speaking. Yes, brother, you got your hand up. Does it mean that it wasn't effective? No. No. If you ask, do you all have any questions, it's not that they don't understand you. It's just that you're giving them an opportunity. There might be something that requires clarity. Right? So you're giving them that opportunity. Yes? They don't ask any questions. then maybe you have got through to them, or maybe you've lost them completely. You are right up there, you've lost them totally. So it depends on the situation. But if you're connecting with them and if they've got uncertainty, they're definitely going to ask you some questions. Or if you anticipate when you are speaking on a particular topic and you see that they are wavering in their attention, then maybe you are losing them. So maybe you need to go back and just in the question and answer time, just ask them that point that I made. Did you all understand it, or should I elaborate it more? Then someone might just say, yes, we didn't understand it. The slides that you're using must be relevant to your audience as well. Is that what you're saying? Absolutely. So you know where you're speaking. If you're speaking to a room full of doctors, then the slides that you're using must relate to their profession to the extent that it is possible, right? But otherwise, then you're going to be giving other slides and might not really be relevant to them, so it might be a disconnect between you and your audience. Okay, if there's no more questions, let's just move on. So what have we discussed in the past 4 days? Public speaking from an Islamic perspective, overcoming nervousness. Yes, brother? Got a question? Okay.
Let's say you prepared the speech and you entered the hall, then you started your speech, and all of a sudden you realize that they're not interested and they ask you to speak on a certain topic where you know half of the topic. What do you do?
They're not interested. You've gone there to speak on a particular topic. You prepared for that particular topic. They're not interested in that and they want you to speak on something else. If you're not comfortable with that topic, then it's very dangerous to speak on it, because you'll just make a fool of yourself. So you can tell them that this is what I was told to come and speak on. I've prepared for this particular talk, and if it's not relevant, then you need to tell the MC or the person who's organizing, is there anyone else more appropriate to speak about it, because that's not what I'm supposed to speak on. You're going to make a fool of yourself. That's the main thing. Right? So don't get caught in the trap. Now they're asking you to speak on something else that you are not competent to speak on. You can also use other things. So for instance, you'll notice that there's a board that's going to be coming in later on. Or even if you have a flip chart, and if you feel that that is appropriate to use in teaching or in lecturing or getting your point across, nothing wrong with that. So you have your flip chart, it's organized beforehand, and then you can get to the flip chart and do whatever you want to show them. The advantage of that, actually there's an advantage to that. The advantage to that is that you can change your speech as you go along, or the sequence of what you're saying, because the slide, you can't change it. It's all there. So that's, in fact, so you're not stuck with one method of aids. Any aids that's comfortable to you, but use aids as far as possible. Prophet ﷺ used aids. He drew in the ground. So if he's used aids, we must also use aids, the best way to get your message across. Okay, so there's no hard and fast rule. Okay, so we said that what we've covered, public speaking from an Islamic perspective, overcoming nervousness, framework formation. This you'll recall we did that alliteration and so forth. And this is part of the structure. And we also did the contents of the speech, which was the beginning, the middle, the end. What we had to do as far as the beginning was concerned, the A, B, C, grabbing the attention and so forth. The middle, we discussed, that is where you get the meat of your speech. So one was contents, what you're going to say. Then we moved on to public speaking artistry, which was a presentation, how you're going to say it. Then the attention absorbing structure. This is where you must realize where you'll probably lose your audience and what you need to get their attention. So we discussed various ways of doing that, and things to be wary of, things to do, things not to do. So that's what we discussed there, and that was to get the engagement. So this is what we covered in the past 4 days. So this is another example of the tell formula. I'm telling you now what we had discussed, so you'll recall when you leave this venue. Okay, now we had 4 days of public speaking presentations done to you. Or you might even have read a book on public speaking. Does that make you a public speaker? Doesn't make you a public speaker. So what's required then? Practice, training, etc. So even if the professional footballers and other sportsmen do it, so when Lionel Messi, when he was coached by his previous coach and he's told, okay, these are the things to do, what do you think he did after that? He would go practice it. Ronaldo, why do you think that for years these two people are getting the Best Player of the Year award? Because even when the rest of the team have left, they are practicing on their own. They come there even before the team practice starts, they are practicing on their own. So that is what makes perfect, right? So you've got some tools. Today, inshallah, the IPCI officials will be given these slides or the information that I've covered, which is not in the red book. So when you are reading the red book, read it together with what is going to be in your flash disk, because there I'll be covering most of the public speaking from a Sharia aspect. And what we told you also, in order to remember the best, is firstly the speech, secondly we use the aids, thirdly we give you notes, but you have to read the notes within 2 weeks. If you read the notes within 2 weeks, then he's going to recall exactly what you have been through. So that's as far as this whole program is concerned. Even if it takes you a month, all the notes that you are given, flash disk, just go through it. So this is essential. This is something that you will definitely have to do. Every opportunity you get to speak, take that opportunity. If someone tells you, okay, who wants to be the MC of this function? Put your hand up. Who wants to give the vote of thanks? Put your hand up. Because without practice, you're not going to make perfect. Now, you'll recall that when we are growing up and we took our first few steps, what happened? Were we able to walk normally? We fell down. Then what happened after that? We stood up, took a few more steps, we fell down. And we continued until we perfected it. Now, imagine if we were like public speakers, scared public speakers, potential public speakers, and said that, okay, now I'm taking a chance and I'm going to start walking. And the person starts walking like this child and she falls down. Second time she falls down, third time she falls down and says, walking is too hard for me, I'm not going to walk. What's going to happen? Never walk. So that's exactly the case with you people as well. Those of you who are not proficient public speakers and you want to become proficient, you have to practice. Have to practice. If you make mistakes, that is how you're going to learn. And I always say to my students is the quicker you make mistakes and the more mistakes you make, the quicker you will learn. Right? But you won't make mistakes if you're not going to take a chance. Right? So you'll have to do that. So we can't teach you, and I haven't been able to teach you to get rid of those butterflies in your stomach. But what we try to do is to teach you to make them fly in formation, inshallah. And we hope that now you've been taken out from that situation there to this situation, to that situation, and inshallah to that situation. Jazakallah.
Okay, Jazakallah, Advocate Vahed. I think this session has been a very interesting session. And one of the thoughts that went through my mind while he's speaking over here, that if we had to read a book about how to swim, you think we'll ever be able to learn how to swim unless you go and dive into the pool and try. And exactly the same thing applies over here. That with public speaking, you have to try it. And especially for our younger brothers who are in university, I'd like to just share a few minutes, a little experience when I went into university. And in the 1980s, the universities were on boycotts and against the apartheid government in South Africa. And in one meeting at the university hall, there was over 2,000 students over there, and we were on boycott, and they were drafting a list of proposals or recommendations that they wanted to hand into the administration of the university. So various things came through, and somewhere along the line, one student went up and he says that we want on our campus a pub for drinking alcohol. And I'm standing right in the back. I never did any public speaking, didn't prepare any speech or anything like that. And it just says, this is wrong over here. And that was, I think, the most difficult walk that I had from the back of the hall to go up onto the stage. And I said that, look, before we ask a thing like this over here, you must remember in apartheid that this alcohol is an instrument of oppression. And if you want to open up a pub in South Africa over here, a shebeen, that's what they call it, it's very easy. But if you want to open up a school, you need to have to apply to so many different departments and get this thing over there. And then the idea fell flat. But the point that I'm saying is that you need the courage at times. You're not preparing a speech and things like that, but don't be afraid. Bismillah, just go and say what you are thinking, and that has an effect.
My respected tutor, Professor Mohsin Ibrahim, respected dignitaries, my students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Of course, I'm your student also. We spoke about youth development and so on, isn't it? And we had a little bit of a brainstorming session. But we'll spend about 5 or 10 minutes on that, because I just want to go and show you that every state we live in, now I'm speaking within the South African context. This will be part of what I'm going to come with, where you got to know a little bit of everything. You will have the Quran in every state as a Muslim as your first constitution. But also the land has a constitution which you have to follow. And we will show you in South Africa how it is followed, and you will tell me how it is followed 1-2 points in your land. But let's first get down to your homework that we gave you. I gave you the problems that the South African youth face. Sometimes we listen to youth abroad having problems. Now you're going to give me some constructive, to talk it's easy. Think it must be practical. Now you're going to put your hands up. We had those groups. You're going to tell me what is the way forward in developing the esteem of the youth. All right, doesn't matter. Put your hands up. What is the way forward to developing the youth? In other words, you will have youth with problems. You will have youth that are leading a good life. Now, what is your role as a youth? Now, remember what I told you about one scholar said. If a youth dies spiritually or physically, then the entire nation will die. You understand? You remember I left you at that point. And don't lose your youth. Take advantage of it while you got it. So now we address the problems of broken families, we address the problems of drugs, etc., etc. Many of you gave excellent answers. Now we left you behind to come back and tell us what are the solutions in your community, how you going to play an active role in order to develop the esteem, the status of the youth. That is what we're going to spend just 5-10 minutes on, and then we will carry on with the rest. Can I have this brother too? You can speak for your group, like we did yesterday. We started.
Yeah, it's now in our country, in Saudi Arabia, especially in our area, we take care of the volunteer teams, volunteer consultations. Many field of different volunteers. So a student, when you say youth, from the three part of the high school, also with college, they are college students. So they spend time and they are taking these groups, the team, with the section, planning, executive, with main experienced person to guide them to do what they like to do, not because it's start long time before, but this 2 years it's going like with the high quality. Each student, each youth, he concentrate about one time, one thing, as I told you, and volunteer, helping people, painting walls, having making service society service at hospitals, many different ministries at home, and the mosque also. So that's why my main job is about volunteer. Because I'm going to invest their time, they are doing in a high quality way with experienced person.
Okay, Jazakallah. I think that was a good answer. In other words, you are trying to tell the people that there must be volunteers. What? You must volunteer on your part. You must have volunteerism. You must make the time and look for the people to assist this youth. You understand? It's not a one-off thing. You got to be committed and dedicated. You understand? That is why you'll find in Islamic religion, the word only Ummah is found in this religion. Have you found it in any other religion? You call group, religious group, this, that, but we use the word Ummah, it's an accepted word in the dictionary. But as an Ummah, we don't concern ourselves only with the youth of the Muslim. But first we start cleaning our own homes. Okay. That's good answer you gave, but you got to be practical. Anybody else? Quickly, I'll take 2 more answers and then I'll give you 2 or 3 ideas and then we'll carry on with the rest.
The youth, they must be given the benefits of the doubt. Let them to be the role players. Let them do what they want to do, but with the guidance of an elder. Because in most cases, the youth, they look up to what is happening on the media rather than having a guide to them who's going to advise them what to do, how to do it, when to do it.
Okay, very good.
We think that giving the youth more freedom, more responsibilities, and let them doing more things on their self, and let them just trust them with supervising is the great method. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, we accept that answer.
If they can be taught those skills and use them, they'll have something to do in the society. They're just sitting with the skills which at later stage they lose the skills and then die. The skills itself dies now and find that the face now or no way out. The result is just
Okay, Jazakallah.
Right, I feel that we should educate the youth through outreach programs. We should have programs, not to have a program just for a certificate course, but the main important thing is tarbiyat that we need in youth.
Excellent.
Because if you leave out tarbiyat, there's nothing left.
Excellent.
If you look at the society around us, everybody's working towards a degree. Everybody's working towards something that they want in paper. But the main thing that comes, especially physically, is tarbiyat. The best of manners, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the people are the best of manners. So I think that is important. Tarbiyat is the most important thing that one can have, especially the youth. If that is embedded into them, then they can pass on to the next generation.
Jazakallah, thank you very much. That was a very good answer, I think. Okay. Now you mentioned something about tarbiyah programs. But now I want you to go, when you go back home, the first thing is, you form a youth group. You know who's you identify the potential youth. What? Identify. This is, I'm just giving you 2-3 ideas and you go and do the practical part, okay? You must identify your youth in your area. Right, identify you and don't have negative criticisms. If you know a problem about the youth, it's discussed between that members of the committee that are in that youth club helping to assist those youth. Okay, you identify that youth, what is his problems, number 1. Number 2, you identify also his potential. In other words, what he is capable of doing. And number 3, you also look into his background. Why is he behaving in such a manner? Now this is all for behind closed doors meeting. When you form a youth club, you understand? That is to assist in a community. So we'll have maybe 1 youth club in this community, in the next community, the next one. And when you identify, you keep records and you monitor the progress. That is very important. After your tarbiyah programs, sporting activities, all these things, and nasiha, advice, all these things are important to be brought. But you have to have a group that is recognized, we are helping the youth to raise their esteem, their status. Okay? Right. Thereafter, you will also form a networking. This is very, very important. You know what's networking? Yes or no? I can't hear you today. Why are you in a new place? You're frightened to talk.
Yes.
No, don't fret. Networking is very important. you will correspond with other working groups. You will exchange ideas and put those ideas into practice. It's no sense having a whole big memorandum, like the brother said that you can have all the degrees, the paper on the wall. I'm giving in my own words. But if you don't put that into practice, you can't do anything, okay? I told you that saying, by the time a man realizes his father was right, he already has a son telling him he's wrong. Okay. Networking, and sometimes maybe your group may fail in certain aspects. I mean, we all not perfect. So you will require relevant authorities. You know the word meaning of relevant? You will require the relevant, take it down. Nice, good vocabulary for your teachers, who's becoming teachers. Relevant authorities like social workers. Now, so sometime you will find you will have to study the background. You will find social workers charge a lot of money, but I'm talking about volunteerism. What is this? Volunteerism, meaning you must give off yourself. Allah doesn't worry about how much you give. Allah worries about what you give of yourself. Samra? Allah doesn't worry how much you give, but what you give of yourself. That's important. Volunteerism. Now, if you got you see, I'm an Afrikaans guy, so I spell English wrong sometime, you know. Volunteerism. Okay. Now, once the youth comes to know that he is being carefully watched, now you don't do this threateningly. You don't threaten anybody. He's being carefully watched, so there's a concept of respect and be respected built up. You understand? And now you have trained somebody to train somebody else, and this is what you call the succession plan of youth training. What? Succession plan of youth training. So in other words, you might have a king, he might die, you need another king to be trained. Isn't that so? That's what I'm talking about. So you leaders create leaders, not only leaders, but leaders with leadership. We have many leaders, but we don't have leadership. Who disagrees with that? Who agrees? Put your hands up. All right, very good. You know, one day there was an old lady, you know, and she happened to be a nuisance mother-in-law. I don't know why I'm only thinking of mother-in-laws, you know. And so she had 3 daughters, and every day she would go to each daughter's house and become a nuisance, of course. But we shouldn't treat the old as nuisance. I'm just telling you, by the way, because it fits the context here. You understand? So one day she went to her son-in-law's house, and she said, I want to go to the beach at night. When they went to the beach, what happened? The waves are coming, she can't swim, but she's trying to, you know. She nearly drowned. This fellow pulled out one leg, said, oh, you're not my son-in-law, you like my son. Because you saved my life. Poor son-in-law, next morning you see a Jaguar parked in his garage. Get one mother-in-law like that. Then the next day she went to the next son-in-law's house. That fellow planned a big, he got a junk car. You know, you heard about junk. You know, that can't start and everything. No brakes too. And that was the hospital day of the old lady now. He told this car fellow, as soon as I take this old lady across to the clinic, you must come and apply dead brake, I'll pull out. This fellow did that. She pulled out and said, I didn't know you were like my son also. Porsche parked in the garage. Now the third day, this is the last part now. The third day, she went to the other daughter's house. This poor chap got no car, nothing, but he put a new swimming pool. The old lady wants to try it out. She went to in the deep end. Now this chap can't swim, so he let her die. The next morning, what does he see? Lamborghini parked in his garage, the father-in-law with the suit and tie. Congratulations, my boy, you got rid of the old hag. Okay, let's carry on. Right. You have got this now, how you build up a succession plan, at least you have an idea. But let it be practical, not theoretical. When you go back, you're going to send to Mr. Amra and ask what you're doing with the youth on that side. By email, with your photograph on the email, because I won't know you sometime by reading it. You understand? All right. Now, today I'm going to discuss a little bit of everything. You know, every country has a constitution. You know about it. Within the South African context, we have a constitution, but the constitution reads that the law of this country reigns supreme. You get it? And you know that Nabi Karim sallallahu ta'ala says, you follow the law of the land and you also follow your divine law. But however, we have a beautiful constitution which, even if there's some evil clauses enshrined there, it doesn't force you to do that. You understand? Right. So I want to know from you, what is the constitution in your country?
Yeah, we don't actually have one, we just have Quran and Sunnah.
Okay, thank you. That's fine. But now, like we are living in a non-Islamic state, so we have a pluralistic society, a mixed society. I taught you that word the other day. So we have to have various religions here. So everybody is not going to follow Quran and Sunnah. So there have to be a constitution. But however, one thing the constitution allows us what? The freedom of religion, conscience, and thought in this country. And you can see how peacefully we pray. There's no bomb that is going to come on us. You understand? I mean, compared to our brothers that are having a hard time. All right. This law was enforced in 1996. Before that, we had the apartheid constitution, which I didn't know anything about, besides the word apartheid. Okay. And then, on the other hand, although there are clauses laid down in this constitution, I'm going to concentrate on the gender issue. I know there's one woman sitting here, or maybe two women. But not only women should know about their rights, men also should know, because they are the other half of the woman, isn't it? Right. And also, the constitution says it is binding on all denominations, all religions. The constitution of the country. You can't violate laws from there, you understand? But it does not undermine, it does not bring your belief system down. For example, if you want to have a certain function, certain religious discourse and so on, it doesn't stop you from that. So in that sense, the sentence that I read, one of the clauses laid down, you have a freedom of conscience, thought and religion. Right. On the other hand, the difference, what is the difference between an Islamic constitution and the constitution of South Africa? All right, it's a non-Muslim country, any non-Muslim country. What is the difference? Who can answer me?
Is founded by Allah.
Correct. Then, yes, the other one.
Yeah, the other difference is that the man-made constitution can be amended, while the constitution of Allah can't be amended by anyone else.
Very good. The man-made laws are subject to amendments, what? Whereas divine law is not. But of course, we will have new problems coming, like the other day we mentioned about technology and so on. Then man-made laws are allowed. I gave you an example of Mu'adh bin Jabal, isn't that so? But you will apply the law only if it does not contradict the Quran and the Sunnah of Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay. Now, as you go along, you will find that when the institution of prophethood, Khilafah and all these things were lost, the term dictatorship came into existence. You understand? And as a result, the people no longer recognize that Allah is the sovereign power, the highest power. Now I'll ask you something, one question, just by the way, general, it's in the Quran. How would you answer a non-Muslim? He says that we accuse him of Trinity. You know, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. But when the Quran says, we have revealed to you, in the plural, now I'm going to teach you some English. Some of you are teachers that requested, I'm teaching to you. Okay? How do you answer that question? You see, when they defied the institution of prophethood, you know that the Jews and so on, that was the downfall. You know about that. They drew up their own constitutions and so on, and they changed it whenever they like, and they changed the Torah and so on. You know about all these things. I don't have to tell you, right? You get a plural. Now you say you believe in one God, absolute monotheism. What? Take this down. Monotheism means right? Oneness of Allah. Okay? But then your scripture is saying we reveal to you. Answer is simple. When Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam brought the revelation, he didn't teach him to read. He says, Iqra, read. He didn't teach him to read, but commanded him to read. Is that correct? So you can't bring Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam as a teacher of Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but as bringing the wahi, revelation. So you get three types of plural. Plural. This will come in good use for you also. 10 minutes I got, Baba. I didn't even start yet, Mr. Amra. You get duality. Make some sacrifice. This is a month of sacrifice. Sacrifice some time for me. Duality. That's a concept of sacrifice. Duality meaning, I'm just giving you the simple ones. Royalty. Royalty, you know, king, queen, and everybody. Now they become the dictators, and what happened? They rule you in such a fashion that you fear them more than God Almighty. You understand? Huh? But then for Allah we say sovereignty, highest power. And I'll explain to you now how you explain to the layman. Sovereignty means he's singular. But for the layman to understand, if I say I am going to do this to you, it won't have an impact. But if an attorney's letter come from the so-and-so partners associate, what happens? You might get diarrhea, am I right? Huh? So the we is used to show the supremacy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why we call He is the sovereign power, and in linguistics, you use this as the plural of sovereign. Okay? Total gender equality. You don't have, watch out how you make the statements. You don't speak, you go and tell somebody else outside, no, men and women are not equal. What would you think of your religion? Say, no, there's segregation. Am I right? No. You tell them, no. We have equality in Islam, according to our constitution too. And we also have equity. In some cases, the difference between gender equality and the difference between equity is this. Equality is everything in all aspects you are equal. You understand? Equity, you have similar rights like the Quran speaks of. And balanced. But there must be justice, okay? Now I'm going to give you an example of what is equity. The South African Constitution strongly pronounces gender equality. In all aspects, they must be all equal. And therefore, it does not differentiate. It doesn't make any differences between the rights and duties of both sexes. You understand? On the other hand, Islam places emphasis on kist. I use the word. You remember just now? It's a Quranic word. Which means gender equity. I may be pronouncing it a bit wrong, but the kha, sin, and the ta. Ka, okay, all right. All right, you understood what I said?
Yes.
Right, okay. Now, it is a scientific fact as well as a religious fact that since men and women are created, this is how you would answer, created differently biologically, am I right? Huh? So too, their duties and will differ. For example, a man can't go and give birth unless some Satan's handiwork is in there. You understand? So Allah Ta'ala tells you many places, but although their rights and duties will differ, you cannot discriminate them. You understand? There's no discrimination. And how many minutes? 5 minutes. All right. Allah Ta'ala tells you in the Quran, in your nikah khutbah, Ya ayyuhan nasu taqu rabbakum allazi. Right. Oh man, reverence your guardian Lord who created you from your single pair and spread out progenies. Isn't that so? Then he says, men are the protectors of women. Because Allah has given the one more strength than the other. Be careful. Some woman might give me one club, I'll fall down. Now, how do you explain that now? You must be careful. Now, today they're going to question you about Quran and so on. You understand? The strength is this. According to science, there are some women are more intelligent than men and all this. We're talking of scientific facts, not intellectual now. Did you know that the female brain, according to Gammon George, the female brain, in weight I'm not talking about intelligence, get this clear, is little less, I think about half an ounce or something less than the man. The one has more strength than the other, fine, because you found that if you look in various cultures, the men were the dominating figures. And the one has more strength doesn't mean strength only to hit and so on. It means Allah has given more responsibility. Explain it like that. You get it? And then you got no scope for questioning. Because a woman is not obliged to work and look after the family. But if she is working, she is allowed to work. But if she is working and supports the family by her own free will, it's okay. But you can't demand. You can't be W&T, walking and turning. Okay? The next one is, and women shall have similar rights. And you know, in the light of the above Quranic, what I told you now, it is apt that man should recognize woman as a full and equal partner in the procreation of humankind. And both are essential in life, not one. How many? Both. Even the knowledge, there was active participation, in the time of Sayyidina Umar, even the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there was active participation in the public, which culture came and dominated and swept it under the carpet. So which one are you going to choose, culture or religion? Definitely. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in his last sermon, what did he say? O people, fear Allah concerning women. Verily you have got certain rights over you, your woman, and your woman have certain rights over you, and it's well defined in the Quran, and I'm sure you're well versed in the Quran. But notice that in Islam, there are restrictions imposed. What? Right. I'll give you 2-3 examples. There's a difference between intermingling and interaction, I told you the other day. Now, the free intermingling of sexes is not allowed because it can lead you to other social evils. You understand what I'm talking about? Right. Even at our religious gatherings and mosques, we have separate facilities for them to pray. But now in the South African context, you must be heard some new mosque open. I wouldn't call that a mosque. That's not advancing Islam.